you doing, YouTube? It's Will from Will Development. It's my 388th weekly update. You'll have to forgive me. I want to get into a little bit of a little story time from today. I'm a little bit tired. I've been up since 6, which is not unusual for me. I'm usually up around that time anyway, but been up since 6 because I was supposed to go pick up a trailer at a rental place at 7. And although the place is only about 10 minutes from the house, so it wasn't super terrible, but man, I called them yesterday, actually, set up the rental, and it was going to be a really good deal. It was like basically $50 for the whole weekend. Bring it back on Monday, that sort of thing. And I must have asked them 15 questions just to make sure everything was going to be fine. And I missed one super important question that they answered when I got there, which was, do I need to have an actual tow hitch to do this, or will a bumper hitch work? And that answer was given pretty abruptly shortly after I arrived. And the answer was, yeah, you've got to have an actual tow hitch. And for people that don't know, most trucks have a small pilot hole, I guess you would call it, where you can put a hitch ball into it on the bumper. Thing is, the bumper capacity is usually pretty limited. Most of them won't go over about 2,000 pounds on a great day. You know what I mean? And that means how much weight is actually being put on it and even being pulled against it. Trailer hitches, for contrast, even the smallest one is something like 1,100, like I think a Class 1, and then like Class 3 is probably the most common you'll see on most, consumer vehicles, and those are something like, I think it's like 5,000 or 6,000 pounds, and that means it can be pulled 5,000, 6,000 this way or downward force, either way. I think that's what it means anyway. So yeah, got there, got that awesome news first thing in the morning, and spent the next couple hours trying to figure out a solution because, of course, I had already promised the client that I would have their stuff by this weekend, and I was actually running about a week behind because I had missed weight on one of the stones for him. So just one thing after another. Ended up renting a van, actually, from U-Haul, which worked out, honestly, super well, and gave me a new idea for, like, a work vehicle, because I've been looking to get either a new daily driver for me, something like a little tiny sedan, I don't care, just a little Honda Civic. I was not being picky, super picky. Picky in that I don't need it right now, but not picky in that, like, hey, this $1,200 5-speed Honda Civic will do just fine for driving around town and or driving 3 hours down the road with just one stone, and it would save me money rather than driving my truck. That kind of thing. That's the kind of picky I was being. So, but driving that van today, honestly, I was like, man, I could totally see myself using a van as a work vehicle. Most of the Econo lines from Ford, and what's the Chevy version? Transit, I think it's called. No, Transport. Yeah, I think it's the Chevy Transport. Both of them have like a 3,600 or 3,300 pound payload capacity, which is well over anything I would probably need. I mean, like I said, 10 stones was just at about 2,800, and probably 10 stones is the most I would be able to fit in one of those vans, because those 10 were like it. To be fair, if I was allowed to dent the inside of the van, I probably could have put a little bit more, but I had to be very careful because this rental, they got stickers everywhere, like, dent it, you pay for it, and like, okay, so I'm moving all the stones around in this thing very, very gingerly, which is actually harder than just brute forcing them around. If you don't understand what I mean by that, take 135 pounds, put it on your back, and instead of sinking into the squat as fast as possible, try to slowly move the bar downward by squatting as slowly as you can, as if any noise made by the barbell would cause an explosion. And that's what it feels like. So even a 100-something pound stone, the lightest we had was a 140 today. But even moving something like that super carefully and like trying to slowly push it here or roll it there, it's way more taxing than just like just throwing it around. which the stone could take, but the vehicle could not. So yeah, that was my day today. But exciting things, very exciting. Other exciting news that I'll get into before I talk a little bit about training. Since it's not really the highlight this week, the other big news is I am officially providing the stones for Miami's Baddest. Now, Miami's Baddest is a show in, as the name suggests, Miami, Florida. It happens the first weekend of April every year. Well, actually last year was a little different, but things happened. Let's just put it that way. Oh no. I think it was the year before. It actually got moved a whole year forward, which is fine. Always the first week in April, which it's the same this year. And it actually holds a special place in my heart because it was my first strongman show. Now, it wasn't my first athletic competition. My first athletic competition was the Strength Camp Challenge. I don't remember which year, but it was when they did the green shirts and they were indoors. But my first novice strongman competition was Miami's Baddest. Must have been 2014, 2013, somewhere around that range, 14 or 15, somewhere in that time. And since then I've competed in it, I want to say 2 or 3 times since. I generally go every year just to watch and support it however I can, but this year I've decided not to be competing in it, but I am involved. And I'm super excited to be providing the 5 stones for the show, but we're doing a very interesting thing where we are going to be auctioning off the stones after the show, obviously. I guess we could auction whenever, and then once the show's over, whomever gets them. But they are going to be at a significant discount. I mean, obviously, depending on how high the bids go. But each stone will have a reserve price, and basically the reserve price makes sure that charity gets a certain amount and that I get a certain amount of my material costs back. Little look under the, behind the curtain. Most of the cost of stones for any stone maker is not actually in the materials. A little bit in the molds. The molds are expensive at first, but once you get them paid off, they're nothing, right? Which all my molds are paid off. Probably tenfold by now because I've been doing it so long. But you're mostly paying for our time and our expertise when we make stones, especially mine, being that I've been doing it for almost 9 years now. It's how much is my time worth, and I have to figure that out and factor that into the cost of each stone and how long it takes to finish it, how long it takes to pour it, the kind of stress it causes me to make, all that sort of stuff. That's honestly true of 99% of businesses. You're not actually paying for the product, you're paying for convenience, or you're paying for expertise, you're paying for, the person behind the counter that had to do the work for it for the product to exist is really what you're paying for a lot of times. It might even be marketing you're paying for, you know what I mean? But you're paying for something, usually not the actual cost of the product. So yeah, we'll have a reserve set, so I still get my money back in terms of just cost. So I'm not actually making any money off any of these. And then the reserve will be set such that charity is guaranteed to get an X amount of money. And beyond that, anything beyond the reserve will also be going to charity. But we want to make sure the charity gets a minimum of a certain amount, which has yet to be determined. But for instance, the 320 stone that's going to be at the show, which is the biggest stone I'm providing for the show, would normally go around $225 because it is a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a custom weight on top of the fact that it is a colored stone, which requires more time and effort and work on my part as well. And it's even customized with colors too. We did black and gold instead of, I would have normally just done black and white if I was going to do it, because white's a very cheap color to buy. That's why most of mine are marked with black, because black spray paint is cheap. So I'm trying to save everybody money while still, making it look nice. White is the same thing. If I do a color that black doesn't show up on, I use white because it's cheap. Gold, spray paint, a little more expensive. We're talking $1 for a can versus $5. So 5 times as much, you know what I mean? So those things add up. So if you were to get that stone, our reserve is probably going to be somewhere around $80 to $100. So you would be getting that stone for less than 50%. So if you're interested in that and you're in the Florida area, it might be something to look into. I actually don't know how many Florida people watch my channel. Probably going to put that on my list to push my YouTube channel a little bit more in the coming year, along with will development stuff. Yeah, probably something to think about, right? This is just my weekly vlog to me. Anyway, on to the meat and potatoes, now that that stuff is mentioned. This week's training was okay. I'll say okay. I went heavy again this week, at least on yoke, and didn't die. Did 550, and honestly, I probably should have stopped the 550 at the first run because the first run didn't feel terrible. I felt slow, but it felt still pretty reasonably level, which is fine by me. Did a second run, and man, it just tore me apart, that second run. I'm still kind of recovering from it, honestly. Which is fine. It is what it is. But unfortunately, it wrecked me to the point where I tried to log press the next day, and I was just like, yep, no, that's not happening. Like, it just was not happening. So I had to do some other tricep and shoulder stuff to the best of my ability because everything basically hurt. Was able to do some really heavy tire flips, though. I believe the tire for the show was like 500 pounds, and we have a 6-something at the gym. So I did that for a good number of flips, and I'm probably going to do that again next week as well. And then the following week is the week of weight cutting and week of the competition. So that'll be, if I do anything, it'll be with the light 300-pound tire we have that I could do for ever if you made me. You know what I mean? And I also worked on heavy sled drags, which I will probably do again next week as well. Probably just going to give my body some time to rest. Still going to hit yoke next week, but it's probably going to be really light. Speed runs, something with like 400, 450 pounds, something I can basically jog with. And then I might just do picks with like 600 or even 620, just to get my body used to that, the idea of that kind of weight. And then that following week, do runs with stupid lightweight, 50, 60% of comp, you know, which would be like 300, 350 areas, something that I don't want to say couldn't hurt me if I didn't pay any attention, but that's kind of what the idea is. Like, it's a weight that's so light that it's basically just greasing the groove, just going through the movement, but not enough to actually need to do a lot of recovery from. And yeah, other great news, my weight is, I don't want to say finally under control, but I'm actually finally doing something about it. Instead of just hovering around 200, I've been steadily losing weight, and as of right now, I'm consistently in the 194 to 195 range, which my goal was to be week of comp to be at about 190 consistently. So I'm on track to be close. I'll probably be around 192 with a week to get down to 181. And that, I mean, 11 pounds, that's nothing to lose. That's just 2 days without water, basically. Maybe a day without food. It should be a pretty easy cut now that I've kind of started getting my weight under control. And my goal is to walk around 190 for the rest of the season. That'll make my cut to 175, not too crazy, because that's only, what, 15 pounds. That's not awful. It's a little rough, but it's not awful. And then if I do any other 181 shows, it's only 9 pounds, which is nothing. Like I said, that's like 2 days without water, basically, and you'll drop 10 pounds. You know what I mean? Easy. So yeah. I know I hit you with a lot of information this week, but it's good information, I think. Exciting information. And super exciting announcement, too, will be coming out probably the week before Miami's Baddest, so the last week of this month. A new product launch for Will Development as a brand. Super exciting. So stay tuned for that. And remember, sometimes you just need a little extra recovery. If you don't, then what's your excuse?